episode 33 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. Our weekly show we bring you where we talk about all things Stadia, all things in the world of gaming, joined by my co-hosts in the cubes. To my right and your left, I have our techie teacher, Mr. Tom. And right below him, we have the man of many pixels with the glorious beard right now, Mr. Richie. Give us a wave, gentlemen. Say hello.
Hello.
Hello. We are bringing you another episode of the Sounds of Stadia podcast today, all from our homes, as we always do. I don't know why I would say that's any different. That's the only place we've brought. To be fair, we've brought it from different places as a collective.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed in the past.
Two in your house and one in Tom's?
Yeah.
Possibly, yeah.
Now you know how it's made. But what we're bringing you is a weekly episode. For those of you who are new to the channel, we bring you a weekly episode where we talk about all these Stadia news and gaming details. Now, we've had quite a busy week this week.
Aye.
Some news that pertains to Stadia specifically, some news just to the wider world of gaming, but we are here to break it down, talk to you about it, discuss it amongst three friends, and essentially give you a bit of a laugh along the way. So, before we start fully into the episode, let's have a look at some of the housekeeping really, really quickly to keep us up to date. Any of you who have subbed out of the channel, thank you for giving us a follow along and watching all last week's content, which we spent a lot of time working over in the hot, humid climate that we're currently living in sunny England right now. It's very warm. I'm very warm in my background. I don't know about you guys.
It is roasting.
Not that we complain about the temperature in England. It's our God-given right that we do that. It really is. But a few points of housekeeping for this week. Richie, your third episode of the Lost Words playthrough went live Saturday.
Yes, it did.
You got emotional?
I did. Did I? I can't remember. I've been editing so many of them. I can't remember what's in.
It's all a blur.
Yeah,
it's all a red wine blur.
Absolutely
Richie.
Is.
But yes, head over there, check that video out. He might even switch to rosé or white at some point, but you'll have to stay tuned to find out as he continues his journey through the pages in Lost Worlds Beyond the Page. Another point we've got to pick up on this week is, Tom, you announced our and the collective content creators PUBG content creator.
Oh,
Lots
yeah.
of words there.
The Stadia.
Explain a little.
Yeah. So I've been thinking about it behind the scenes, and I thought we wanted to give something to the community where everybody can follow along in their own, to their own channels, whichever content creators that they like to watch. And what we're doing essentially is a showcase showdown, if you want to call it, between all of the different Stadia content creators. So I'm not going to announce any particular names yet, but if you go to Twitter and check out the hashtag Stadia Creators Cup, you'll be able to find out some of the individuals who are participating. But essentially what we're doing is we're putting a bunch of teams together made of content creators, and we're going to be creating a custom PUBG tournament, strictly, for the viewers to enjoy. So that'll be coming on the 30th of May, so towards the latter end of this month. So more news coming on that as the weeks roll out. Things are happening behind the scenes, but nothing to announce other than that just yet. Just May 30th. Watch this space.
Exactly. So keep your eyes peeled, keep subscribed and locked to our Twitter page where we'll brief out the news to you there. Remember, you can follow us over on Facebook as well, and also the Google Stadia UK Facebook group. If you're not part of that, you are from the UK or you're just from the rest of the world and you just happen to really appreciate the British sarcasm and dialect, jump in and join them and sign up. They also have a Discord channel as well. There's some really good positive conversation, really good community growing. Anyone who's kind of woven into the Stadia world right now, you'll know the community is already fantastic. Not only the content creators, but the fans alike are very like-minded. If you want to make friends on Stadia, play with new people, you joined in with some games and you maybe don't have the larger group that you want to jump in with, reach out to them. They're a fantastic group so far. Get in there with us as well. Join us and have a good chat about that. So we've got a great partnership with them going as well. Check that out. Facebook, facebook.com/ find the link, Chris, really quickly. We used it last week. Where is it at? Keep stalling for time while you scroll down your page. Where's it at? I can't find it. There it is. No, it's not. That's a different link.
Yeah, they're all a good bunch of lads.
You talk. I'll find it.
Every interaction I've had with people in that community has always been positive.
Yeah, it definitely seems very tight knit, doesn't it? Really, like everybody's adding everybody's setting up games. There's chats going on over there as well. It's a laugh. Definitely, if you're from the UK, as Chris said, get in on that. Chris, you got it?
Get in on it. I have, yeah.
Excellent. Back to
It
you.
I scrolled right past it and then realised I was on like episode 29 notes and I was thinking, gone past it. Yes, it is facebook.com/groups/Google Stadia UK group. Why couldn't I just remember that? I could have just said, check out this link below and added it in later on, but that's the foresight I'm lacking.
But if people listen to the podcasts, they're not.
That is true. That is true. This is also for audio podcast people. So good point, Richard. Available on Google Podcasts, Apple Music, Spotify, Stitcher, and a bunch of other podcasts as well. So check us out in audio form if you don't like our faces. Right. Next, gentlemen. Next point to call. Patreon supporters. We need a shout out to our newest Patreon supporter this week. Holly Pops has subscribed. Thank you very much, Holly. Yeah. Really, really appreciate that. Appreciate the support in our wider Patreon community. Remember, we're adding special content to that for those of you who've tuned in and really helping us grow and, more importantly, reinvest in Sounds of Stadia itself. So thank you. Massive shout out to everyone who joined recently. And Holly's our new subscriber. And you can write in now with your questions as well. So remember that, patreon.com/Sounds of Stadia. Alas, gentlemen, let's get into the thick of it. We'll skip the retcon ritual this week, Richard. You know why? Because it's just another wrestling problem that clearly I should stop talking about.
You're not allowed to talk about wrestling anymore. You're banned.
Barred from wrestling. Yeah. Might want to say he's been put in a cage of sorts.
Oh, dear. So thanks to Tom Stone Cold stunning us with that joke right there. Let's move into
the super sexy. I can't even get it out. You've thrown me for a loop. The super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka the news. Excellent.
The news. Echo found for you Division players out there. Are located. It says located. See, I messed up again. Richie, add it into next week's doc. No, don't. We've acknowledged it there and then. Right. More importantly, gentlemen, insanely busy week of news across the gaming world. We got a few more announcements about more digital events coming up. But more importantly, we got quite a lot of detail on actual games. Now, I don't know about you two, but in terms of Stadia itself, what I've really, really been enjoying is that all these game talks and these game announcements that kind of trickle out now, they all relate to Stadia.
Yes.
They actually have some tangible connection to Stadia. Remember back in the day when we were saying, give us games. And look at us now. We're just basking in the sun of gaming news because anything third party links in with us, right?
Back in the early days of this podcast where we're stifled for news, like how can we make an hour-long show? We've got nothing. And now we're just like, how can we get through all this in an hour?
And now we just sack off segments of our show just so we can get into the thick of it. So, first things first. Last week, we had Star Wars Day, also known in the Gregorian calendar as May the 4th.
May the 4th be with you. That was an awful.
You've been alert.
You've been working on that since like last week, haven't you?
You had the tone to your voice. That's why he's got the water there, just so you can get the vocals right.
Every day in the shower.
So more importantly, though, we had news on the newly announced game coming to Stadia this autumn or fall for you American listeners out there, as Jedi Fallen Order had a free Star Wars Day update, which was fantastic because we've all played this story, we've all finished it. However, I think we've all, for the most part, said we're looking forward to playing it on Stadia as well once you've had that time lapse. Some free updates came out in regards to a new game plus mode, which I've been clambering for since I finished it back in November. I really would have liked to jump into it back then. However, patience is if the Jedi Order teaches us anything, it's patience. Young Padawan.
It's part of the Jedi code. Come on, Chris.
It really is. So we got New Game Plus, we got some new challenges, and we got more customization coming as well. What were our thoughts on that, you two?
Yeah.
Did it get us excited? Did it get us hyped?
Absolutely.
Clearly, this is going to come day and date with Stadia, this update.
We had some discussion off camera, like very, very briefly with this, that we were trying to identify. They didn't actually advertise it as being New Game Plus, but in woven amongst the content, it is mentioned that it is New Game Plus. They just never sort of like outwardly expressed that. But having a New Game Plus is fantastic because it gets you get back into it, you get to try and run through the entire game with the customizations you enjoy, all of the skills unlocked. You can have a blast with it. Plus, you can just really sort of, but you get that strength, don't you? You have that sort of like essence of feeling
like God.
Yeah. You feel like nothing can stop. You feel like Darth Vader in Rogue One, walking down the hallway, just absolutely laying into rebel troops.
I think New Game Plus for Jedi Fallen Order would be actually quite quite interesting because you'll have. Do you have all your force powers and stuff? If you've
No, they did clear up that during during a second playthrough, they would still have to limit certain abilities because it would open the map up and it would kind of break the narrative of the story if you were able to access other areas, because it's very Metroidvania. You having something like a force pull, for example, you could just go down a completely different route, miss the story beat, and it wouldn't fold in correctly.
It's probably certain story triggers are gated by specific abilities, and well, they could probably put other triggers in place, but well, that's a lot more work.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was about to say it'd be interesting, like going like to Bogano with like all of the abilities, right? On your first turn,
them little creatures don't know what's hit them once you arrive back with full arsenal of powers.
It'd be quite interesting in the way it changed the way you approach the game, because because with it being Metroidvania style, you're bouncing from planet to planet and going back to places you've already been.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't approach it that way. You'd probably go planet do it, unless the story beats.
Yeah. I'd just go in full on like Anakin on a bunch of younglings. Just everyone's getting destroyed.
He went there.
I went there. But yeah, so a few more points they said you get. They've got new skin packs come out, so you can get customizable ponchos. Who doesn't love a poncho, eh? They also got different lightsaber styles and colors. You can play as a Sith, I believe, is one of the ones they highlighted. You could play through the campaign with a red lightsaber. In Lee shot in a dark side. More importantly, what intrigued me the most was the challenges mode. So there's a segment in the game where you end up in kind of like an arena with loads of local inhabitants, pretty much like the scene from episode 2. And you can customize the bad guys by essentially dropping them all onto almost like a 3D hologram, playing like you're playing holo chess. And I'm trying to see how many Star Wars references I can cram in the explanation. And you kind of drop who you want to face in the challenge onto the chessboard. And then you play through that challenge level that you've custom created yourself, which I thought was a pretty nice twist on the arena style. It's not just wave after wave. It's something you can adapt to your own style, make it harder, make it easier if you're struggling a little bit. So I really did appreciate that. I do have a question for the two of you, though. With them showing some continued free support for Jedi Fallen Order, do we think this could particularly pertain to some new story DLC further down the line? So I know the story was very, very rich.
For me, I'm going to say no, because it's EA and then trying to probably rebrand themselves a bit with this. I think the DLC is something that EA don't have a good reputation with. So unfortunately, I would like new story DLC. I think having New Game Plus there actually can bring old players back into it and prep them for new stuff. But I think paid DLC, I think EA will be very careful with.
So I'm in exactly the same boat as Richie with this. I don't think we're going to get any story-driven DLC, which is a shame because it'd be nice to have like an additional planet to explore. Even if it's got nothing narratively to do with it. Perhaps it's full of like bounty hunters, and it's just an extra challenge. Perhaps it just unlocks extra customization and so on. But I do believe there are already confirmed discussions that a second game as part of a series is now happening as well. So it is essentially the new Star Wars canon for single player narrative. So that's pretty cool.
I'd rather that.
I mean, we all anticipated that they'll get a sequel pretty much. I think once I got, I don't know, half an hour into the game, I think I understood that this would not just be a one-off by how polished and how well and how I adhered myself to it quite early doors. I would like part of me really does think that we could get some story DLC, and the reason I've been thinking of that is, one, I want more Star Wars stuff potentially, but more so the void we've got now between any Star Wars movies. I know this week they announced that Taika Waititi is going to be doing his own one with some co-writers from The Mandalorian and such. It's going to be a long while until we see any kind of commercial footprint from Star Wars as we know it. We know Season 2 of The Mandalorian is due to drop later this year. For EA, I could see conversations happening where once it was received so well last year, with them not being in any of the Game of the Year conversation, I feel like a nice piece of story DLC heading into this autumn, maybe winter, would really help reignite the game for some Game of the Year discussions. It allows them to time it perfect with a Stadia relaunch Game of the Year package. And like you said, Tom, that extra planet of just random hack and slash stuff wouldn't be that hard to implement if it didn't have any impact on a narrative basis. Similar to in like God of War, they had the Muspelheim world where it was pretty much just go in and destroy stuff. No narrative, no real link to the campaign. Just destroy it. And I think if you were at EA, how difficult would it be to terrain a different planet out, throw a bunch of bad guys in, do some kind of light speed fast travel to it, and go, there you go, have some fun. Waste 30 minutes an hour testing out your new skins, your new lightsabers, one or two maybe new bad guy creatures. Go figure.
Even I think it's probably harder than you think, because it's a lot of like tech creating all the textures, because every single world in that game is very distinct. And if they just kind of reuse assets, I think it'll just seem a bit cheap almost.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not claiming to be a developer, and I don't know. I know it's not just copy and paste, and change the font and such.
Yeah.
I just think we're nearly half a year detached from it now. If they're dropping a free update half a year later, it's not like EA to continue bothering with it, especially for something free if they didn't have an agenda necessarily. So there's a few whisperings. I feel it in the force. It's out there.
Yeah.
I like it. Imagine a Stadia launch with extra DLC.
It'd be really nice for them to use an opportunity like that as well to maybe even build on the backstory of some of the supporting characters as well, even if it's less, as we say, less driven by the overarching narrative, and maybe just a little bit more about some of the characters that you have. Maybe unlocks once you have those characters on board your ship. For those people who haven't played it yet, you need to get out there. I'm not going to say anything else about those characters, but they do join you. It's fun. But I can see it happening. I just don't think it will. But I do sort of see where you're going to with your argument on that. There is a good bit of time we're going to be waiting, and it's almost like they're just trying to keep the hype train moving, just keep people interested in it, just to keep rolling out sales. Because I suppose for EA, this is, again, it's one of those things that EA likes their games that they can constantly have an influx of money from. Something where, people can buy loot boxes. We've had that discussion before. We won't delve into that. But for something like a single player title where there is no DLC, there's no additional purchasable content, it does beckon the question of what do they do with that? Do they just keep generating the hype, or do they just sort of leave it?
I think part of it has always been, for quite a while, there's been a question mark over EA having the Star Wars license exclusively. And because of the bad reputation that EA have with that license, Jedi Fallen Order is arguably their only real win with that license.
Yeah,
so
they did correct Battlefront.
Let's go full on non-EA mode and go, look, probably left it to the guys over, was it Respawn who made it?
Yeah.
They probably might have been the ones driving it, and EA might have went, okay, the game's been commercially successful, it's critically successful. If you want to push this new game plus stuff, do it.
Yeah, I think Respawn have free reign at the moment, to be fair. They smashed out of the park with Apex Legends. Titanfall was critically, obviously it didn't sell as well as they'd hoped, but critically acclaimed, received fantastic ratings, and then they followed the third game up with Jedi Fallen Order, which was my game of the year for last year. So
yeah, if you EA,
do what you want.
You guys take care of us.
Yeah,
good.
You don't want to taint that water, do you? You don't want to mess that up. Certainly not. It's interesting you touch on EA having the exclusive rights, because we know their contract ends, I think, in the next year or two with Disney to distribute it. On the flip side, though, we're also getting Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga this October was announced. So it's a weird licensing deal where you can only make games for Star Wars. But by the way, is it Traveller's Tales or who make the Lego games?
Yeah, doesn't it fall under
TT Games?
It is, but doesn't that fall under the Warner Brothers arch as well?
Yeah, with Lego, it's kind of a mixed match.
It could be just EA just licensing out the license. We're happy for you to make this game, fund this game, and we'll take a cut.
Yeah, Traveller's Tales and Warner Brothers Interactive. It's such a bizarre relationship.
I love Lego games.
Oh yeah,
I haven't actually played one really. I've played bits of quite a few, but I've never sat down on my own and go, right, I'm going to play this.
There's a lot of IP that lend themselves to Lego really well, and I think anything with multiple worlds and characters does, and obviously Star Wars has a huge roster of characters, new and old. They even confirmed Yaddle is going to be in the Skywalker Saga, which, for anyone who doesn't know, Yaddle's it's the counterpart to Yoda, essentially, in the Jedi Council. She's the little green female one. She's only in it for all of 10 seconds, but she never got acknowledged in the other movies or the other canon content. So she gets her own Lego character. There you go, Yaddle. You can rest in peace now. But in terms of Jedi Fallen Order game, fantastic. Really, really happy it's coming to Stadia. Cannot wait for it. I do hope we get more. But let's move on to the next story of the week. So many Bothans died to bring you this next story. So it comes straight to us from the year 2077, where apparently you can customize your own genitals. And I say that by so we've dubbed it Cyberjunk 2077 because you can customize your bits, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow,
the bits down below, down south. So it's such a random story.
Where'd you go from here? Like,
I just don't see the points, to be honest. Why you got someone developing this? He's putting a lot of time and effort into making it so you can change the size and potentially.
There is an argument for it. It's essentially to sort of embrace things like the transgender community. You know, the LGBTQ plus, the QIA plus, etc. But yeah, it's definitely reaching out to that sort of audience. And what you've got to think about as well is we're talking again about like a cyber futuristic landscape that we're working with, where body modification is going to be very heavily involved. There's going to be things like beauty modifications, like physical enhancements, cybernetics, all of that sort of stuff. So it's sort of, I sort of understand where they're coming from. But what I'm expecting to see is just countless YouTube videos of people making 15-foot penises. So I'm just throwing that out there, you know? It's just going to be
a tripod.
It's going to be the elephant man everywhere you go, basically.
Yeah. So in the report, they've said basically, correct to what you're saying there, Tom. Yeah, players can select a gender and customize their character. Customization can include depictions of breasts, buttocks, genitalia, as well as various sizes and combinations of genitals. Never seen that before. So essentially, they're looking for a non-traditional gender option in a game, so like male, female, wizard, mage, all that kind of traditional stuff.
Isn't mage and sex terms?
No, in terms of your like the wider scope of choosing your character. I am well aware, Richie, that mage and wizard are not
going
gender
down a
terms.
rabbit hole.
But in terms of being inclusive, you can completely customize it. And obviously, the news outlets just picked up on this and said, you can make your dick X size.
It's Red Dead and the horse testicles all over again.
Yeah.
It really, really is. Now, I'd like to know if you can customize them onto different parts of the body. So we've all had that conversation with our mates, right?
Make a dickhead.
Yeah, a dickhead. Or where you talk about, I know, Richie, we've definitely had this conversation with our friends. Would you rather have, what was it, penis? It's penises for fingers or fingers for a penis? Well, what would you rather have? So yes, my Cyberpunk character is going to be Johnny Tendix over here.
Brings a whole new meaning. It's not jazz hands anymore, is it? It's jizz hands.
Yeah,
I wonder how much penis is actually going to be on display in this game. Then,
I mean, well, the game has now received an ESRB rating of M for mature, so that does mean it is on the absolute very high end of the scale in terms of rating.
The tail end, some would say, Tom.
The tail end, absolutely. Nice link. So yeah, it's very much going to be. I think for we know CD Projekt Red like to push the water with sex scenes and so on in the games. We've seen it in all of the Witcher games. I see them possibly. I mean, don't hold me to this, but do they dare go hot coffee mod from the old GTA game, if you remember that controversy back in the day, of like the hidden sex scenes in the video game that were you could never publicly access them, but there was the hot coffee mod that allowed people to actually get in to the action, shall we say.
Yeah. I mean, video games in the past, in the early 90s, never had the best reputation for. I mean, we all know certain mods in Tomb Raider games that existed back on in the day.
Yeah,
so
the SRB exists for a reason, and that sort of is the reason why. Like,
yeah, completely. Is it what's the Peggy one? Peggy 12. What's that guy?
Probably going to be
UK,
8. Yeah, it's probably going to be 18. Would it be
Peggy 18?
Do what it actually? Yeah, 18. 18 would be the highest rating in Peggy.
So it's not just short for Margaret. Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
No.
That's just what we're confirming there. Breaking news: Peggy is not short for Margaret. But in terms of the game, it looks fantastic. We did get a little snippet of news relating to Cyberjunk 2077 this week actually, and it was from our friend Duncan over at 12 Escape on Twitter. He noticed that the ESRB rating isn't available for Stadia for Cyberpunk yet, but it is showing for other platforms now. Does that cause us any concern? Like, I, for one, just think it's probably just typical down to Stadia not being part of the broadcast loop of announcements and stuff yet. But then the ESRB ratings board are quite factual. They're not all about the news. It's very much as when it's done, there it goes. What do we think? Are we worried now, or
no?
Because it's delayed. We should be playing it now. Yeah, it's pushed back.
It might just be the Stadia version hasn't been sent off for certification. Bear in mind, this game is still in development. I don't think it's went gold yet. So
no,
the fact that it's got an ESRB rating means maybe Microsoft and Sony are just kind of, we've got enough of the game to actually get it through. Where I don't really know how the application works. It might just be Google haven't. Bear in mind, I think Microsoft and Sony are almost certainly better at this than Google right now. Just because of experience, they know how to get this done.
Yeah, I do know the ratings board, the way they look at them, they don't play through the whole game, by the way. Essentially, it's down to the developers and the publishers to give them bullet points of essentially what the game contains, and they'll look at brief snippets and samples of the game. Can you imagine giving someone as a professional with his shirt and tie sat there going into work to rate this game, and he's got to put 200 plus hours into Cyberpunk before he can give it a final rating?
Either that or he sits there for 10 minutes messing around with the dick slider.
That's right. He's like, 10 seconds in, this is 18 plus, M for mature, 100%.
There's actually a very interesting no-clip documentary on the ESRB. It's worth watching. But I think there probably will be someone sat there for 10 minutes playing with the dick slider.
Probably. Yeah.
I mean, we've all played with I'm not going to say
it. That is clearly one of the things that's going to jump out as potentially controversial, and that's what the stuff they're going to focus in on.
Anything that's like it's boundary pushing, isn't it? Really, you haven't seen it in a video game before. It's going to be one of those things that definitely the big media outlets will jump on. And I'm not talking like your video game distributors or your video game news outlets. I'm talking like national, international news is going to be like, how dare they? Like, this is disgraceful. That sort of like very conservative approach to look at.
That's going to be brilliant, especially if it's like when you're doing it on the character edit, if it's like full on dick hanging out there and not just size of bulge.
Yeah. To be fair, we've not considered. We've not considered as well. The American press in particular loves the video games gun violence.
Yeah.
Video games sexual violence. Wait until we can customize our guns to look like dicks. That's just like a whole world of pain waiting to blood stop right there.
That'll be the day.
What is it? There's a game. It has the dildo bat.
Oh, it's not Saints Row. It's Saints Row.
Saints Row.
Yeah, it's Saints Row. Saints Row. Giant purple one. I remember it.
Yeah,
remember it well.
Of course. At least it's on brand with the colour. It fits nicely in your room, Tom. I was
just over there.
You just can't see it. It's blending with the background. But anyway, let's put that story back in our pants and move on to the next one. We've got some new games announced for Stadia that didn't come from Xbox. So they just got dropped this week as part of the community blog. Tom, would you like to give us a rundown of the 2 new game announcements we got?
Absolutely.
The little descriptions.
Yeah. So 2 new announcements that came straight from essentially our Stadia weekly update, didn't it? Really, as opposed to a lot, as Chris said, there's a lot of news that's dropped as part of the Xbox reveal recently. But we had first of all Jotun Valhalla edition from Thunder Lotus Games, and also Sundered Eldritch edition from the same developers, Thunder Lotus Games. I'm quite excited by these 2 games actually. But I'll just give you a brief breakdown of each. In Jotun, you'll have to face off against ancient Norse gods, once again, my taste, to prove your worthiness to enter Valhalla. And Sundered is a Metroidvania adventure spanning epic boss fights and hordes of enemies. Jotun is a hand-drawn action-adventure exploration game set in Norse mythology. You play as Thora, a Viking warrior who died an inglorious death and must prove herself to the gods to enter Valhalla. Over in Sundered, we also have it's a chaotic hand-drawn Metroidvania game, as I said before. Enter an ever-changing world inspired by the works of H.P. Lovecraft as you play Esh, a wandering traveler trapped in ever-changing caverns filled with hordes of enemies. Nice.
Rated E by the ESRB rating board.
And my light just went out.
The first thing I noticed about both of these games is they are both available on Steam right now. Jotun Valhalla Edition is £2.84. It's currently 75% off.
Ooh.
And Sundred Eldritch Edition is £3.09, which is 80% off.
Pro games?
So that's something where I think it's one where they need to get the price right on these, because if it comes out and it's £20 when you can pick up for £3, yeah.
Interesting.
Well, how much? Now, obviously, they're already out on Steam. Part of me, when I immediately saw that, thought I did have a little laugh and just think, I wonder if they've just gone in there and added Valhalla Edition on with the announcement of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Like, if Ubisoft went with Assassin's Creed Ragnarok, it would be Jotun. Yeah, Ragnarok Edition right now we're looking at. But obviously, it's been out on Steam earlier. It's very coincidental that as Norse mythology is huge at the moment, and all the hype around Assassin's Creed is building up, we get two games that drop very, very quickly into that similar mindset of Norse mythology. I mean, Tom, I'd love to know how many people out there just say it's called Jotun.
Jotun, I know, yeah.
You'll just totally get that.
Like Jotunheim.
Is it Jotunheim?
Yeah. Jotunheim, yeah, so Jotun. Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out if there's because with it having Valhalla Edition on it, that applies to other editions.
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out if there is other editions.
Perhaps it could be a compilation. Perhaps, like a lot of games, particularly from indie developers, they usually release the base game and then they obviously drop like regular updates that build up the content of the game altogether. So perhaps Valhalla Edition implies that it comes with perhaps some sort of DLC, some sort of additional story, not storyline again, but almost like additional weapons, like enemies, that sort of like thing. Perhaps it's just the edition they're currently working on. Who knows?
I think there might have been. I kind of want to take a stab in the dark and go, maybe this is like an enhanced edition.
Yeah.
That instead of calling it enhanced edition, they call it Valhalla Edition.
So, what are your thoughts about these being pro games?
Yeah.
Based on the price. Sorry, I'm just on an aeroplane go past.
I feel like it sounds like the Star Wars references haven't gone by. I'm either hearing Chewbacca or TIE fighters flying by.
There's a pod racer went straight past. I've got a field at the back of my house, and during the lockdown, all the idiots who have quad bike motorbikes just decide that this time of the day is the perfect time to get out and run them up and down the field. So I apologise for audio listeners who hear a pod racer go past at any given point. I'm sure the sand people will bring them down at some point. Just bear in mind. Just bear with me through that.
It's that guy, you know, the one with the massive wheel, so he obviously can't see where he's going. Yeah. It's him. Yeah,
great sense of creation there. But in terms of the two games themselves, same with Sundered. That comes with an edition caveat too, the Eldritch edition. Based on H.P. Lovecraft, though, so you've got some interesting,
some Cthulhu-esque mythos.
Yeah. It got reviewed quite well. That one, the Sundered, is one that I saw pop up on previous games. I think is it on Switch as well, possibly. It's definitely got that side platform.
They do definitely have that sort of vibe.
I've seen a couple of. Well, it's actually quite saturated, I think, that market now for like platformers. But in terms of some games, I could see it coming to Pro. Interestingly enough, at the end of the article, they always kind of switch out a few games that they promote and talk about. And just at the bottom there, they've said, more games are coming to Stadia this year, including Marvel Avengers, The Elder Scrolls Online, and Superhot. So again, they tend to switch out whatever games come at the bottom of these community. I always do that as well, Richie.
And they keep mentioning these games that we, again, don't really have a confirmed date so much. I know we probably have a date for Marvel Avengers. I can't remember it off the top of my head. But we still know Elder Scrolls Online, no date for that. Still no date for Superhot. But they do keep mentioning, it's sort of like, we haven't forgotten about them. They're still there.
I think that's exactly what they're doing. Like, these games, we're aware of them too. Like, I think Marvel's Avengers was one that should have been out about now, but was pushed back.
We should have been playing Cyberpunk and that.
Can you imagine?
I am so glad for these delays because, imagine trying to fit Final Fantasy, Cyberpunk, Marvel's Avengers,
Last of Us,
Ghost of
Tsushima.
Yeah, imagine trying to fit all that in. It's like you just miss out on some amazing games.
So-
Spread them out. Just spread them out.
Indeed, you would. Speaking of amazing games, though, we got some new pro deals again. So whilst we're in the summer of Stadia and the 2 months of free games, and all of you new listeners who've joined us, all of you new Stadia players out there, you're being treated by one hell of a spring/summer discount promotion, because I feel like every time I open up the Twitter account, it's letting me know about a new pro deal that's just dropped. So this week we've got Doom Eternal got a price down, which I did see over on the UK Stadia Facebook group. It's cheaper than it currently is on PlayStation as well by a couple of quid or pound. I don't think quid translates that well.
It does now.
Couple of
Quid is pounds.
Yeah, quid is a pound. Yeah, a couple of quid. Doom Eternal and the standard and deluxe edition got a price down as well. They got about 25% off. Grid Ultimate Edition, if you didn't pick it up on your pro games, you can pick it up for a good price now, about 50% off that. Richie, your playthrough of Lost Words Beyond the Pages clearly sparked some kind of dash for a promotion to get that game out there, selling more units. It's got 33% off, which brings down to under £10. I think it's about £8 something over here, just over $10 and 4 cents for those over in the States. Fantastic price on that one. Definitely snap it up. I've seen a few people comment on Richie's Lost Words video saying it's a bargain for that price. Definitely snap that up if you've not played it yet. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, just as the Valhalla information drops, we expected it. Ubisoft always do this. New games in the pipeline, marketing started. Here's a massive discount. And which one of us bought it?
This guy.
I think I said on the podcast, I can't remember whether it was last week or week before, I have definitely said it on some Sounds of Stadia content, so go watch all of our content and figure out where I say it.
Just for that.
But I did say I need to give it another go, and if it comes on a pro deal and the deal's good enough, I'll buy it and give it another go. So I look exhausted right now because I was up till 4 a.m. last night playing it.
It's
the rookie numbers.
It's so worth it, though. It's literally hundreds of hours worth of gameplay for that price. Is insane.
Completely is. Totally agree. How are you finding your second crack at the whip, Richard?
The issues I had with it first time round are still there. I mean, it's still the same game, but because I'm not coming in from a point of view where I'm hyped up for this game, they're less egregious. I'm just kind of going, yeah, I knew that was there anyway. I don't care. So I'm enjoying it a lot more this time. Just because I think it is literally just down to the lack of expectation, and it's the procedurally generated quests. They suck.
Yeah.
They just suck. There's no place for them in an RPG. They take away from the narrative for me, take away from the world.
It's when you approach
miscellaneous.
Yeah,
and tells you to go kill miscellaneous bandits, and it's like it's boring.
You approach a guy in the wilderness who just happens to be at some sort of campsite, and he's like, oh, no, I've just lost my job. And it's like, if you give me 50 coins, I will go away. And it's like, okay.
It's something I really hope with Valhalla that take a look at when you look at things like, The Witcher is my go-to for this, because I think The Witcher got side quests absolutely perfect. There wasn't a single wasted quest in that. You could tell, sat there playing it, that someone wrote every single line of dialogue. It wasn't pieced together by a computer, and it all added to the world. That's for me. That's now the gold standard for RPGs, and Assassin's Creed is now an RPG.
Yeah, I'm interested to know how, because they have came out Ubisoft this week after their gameplay reveal that happened at the Xbox event. Quote unquote. what even is gameplay? We're now, this podcast is bringing you gameplay of our faces, believe it or not, according to Ubisoft. It's happening. It's in-game footage. This right here. It's rendered in real time. Enjoy it while you can. But yes, they came out this week and essentially told us that Valhalla is a smaller game. It's going to be a little bit more intricate. The story is going to be a bit deeper. And they've addressed the criticisms that Odyssey had, which was too much filler, too much dragging out the ranking system to go up your levels. So hopefully I'm looking forward to that being maybe a bit of a more condensed journey. I'm definitely tempted to jump back into Odyssey though as well. It's sat there at that price, and I was saying to Richie pre-show that now I've reinvested in my new computer setup, and I need something to stream potentially for our audience out there. I was thinking, maybe like a Road to Valhalla live stream series where I'm just going to jump in. I've already finished the story, so I'm not in it for necessarily the side quests. and just people can jump along for the ride. So let
Does it
me
have a
know
new
if that seems like something you'd like.
I was about to ask if that's a new game plus, but you completed it on PlayStation, so it doesn't matter anyway.
That is true.
Do I smell a speed run? See how fast Chris could blast through the game.
Fast travel all over the place.
Yeah.
Speaking of fast travel, the final game on the Pro Deal, I'm doing great with these segues today.
Yeah, you are today.
Monster Energy Cross Super, sponsored, not sponsored. The official Video Game 3, still a stupid name. That's why you can tell it's not sponsored. It's still a stupid name. It's got a discount up to 40%. So if you didn't get that first time round, get in there now and get your motorbike action. Alongside that, all the other games are still there. All the PUBG content is in there with some discount off all your G coins, whatever the hell they are. I'm sure I'm going to find out later today. Lots of packs. Ghost Recon Breakpoint is still massively discounted too. Rage 2 and Monopoly with 75% off for a little bit time longer. So if you do want a passcode, do collect your £200. Check out that deal before it ends as well. And no doubt we're going to see more. Fantastic pro deals. That's the end of the pro deals we've got. What we need to talk about is address this Xbox event. We know we're a Stadia podcast. Ooh. Don't kill us. However, as I alluded to at the top of the show, a lot of this game showcase that they demonstrated midweek was third party. Now, the great thing, as I mentioned with Stadia now, is a lot of this third party content potentially can come across the Stadia. It should be day and date with Stadia. And we learned very quickly whilst watching the show. I think, Tom, did you watch it live when it was streamed at the same time? I did,
yes.
The Stadia Twitter account was all over those announcements and releases. As soon as they came out, guess what dropped on the YouTube channel? The trailer for the game that lined up.
Ba-bam!
So we did get one announcement, which was Dirt 5 from Codemasters. Great thing with Codemasters, they've supported Stadia so far very, very well. I think every racing game on Stadia is from Codemasters, if I'm right. Jokingly, it's not really. But a lot of the racing games on Stadia, we joke about how many racing games there are. Dirt 5, shoe-in. I think we have seen already in the news it's not coming release date. It is going to come a little bit later, frustratingly enough. It's got a little bit while to stay in the shop before it's out there. But Dirt 5, I've played Dirt 4, really enjoyed it. Struggled to come to terms with this driving simulation. It's a bit more Gran Turismo than it is arcadey, which is me and Tom have spoke about when we played the Crew. I think we prefer the arcadey style than simulation racing. Dirt 5 definitely leans into that, but the way they're showcasing it was almost like Forza, where it seems like they're going to go all big on different locations and bring that kind of rally racing experience to life. And it is coming to Stadia. So
it almost seemed like they were going for a very colourful approach on it as well. It was very like the colours just really popped with it. And I know traditionally Dirt is a rally game, isn't it? That's what it is. It's usually British green, dark sky, grey skies, brown dirt on the floor. It's just usually really boring and
how's the weather today? Overcast.
Yeah. Stereotypically British.
Well, I think with a new generation, they'll probably just want to show off the hardware and having the colours really pop.
Yeah. Would the UK release, do you think, would land better if it was called Mud 5? Because over in the UK, we call dirt mud, right?
Yeah, what's dirt?
Yeah, but I think the word dirt, everyone knows what that means.
Oh, yeah.
It's not one of them where it's like, what are you saying right now?
Sidewalk, diaper,
mud,
trash can.
Mud 5.
Aluminum.
Mud 5.
Mud rally.
Yeah.
Hey, good work. Why not? Smear cold mud. Other games we got confirmed for Stadia, which was the one that I alluded to about the video dropping there and then as it happened, was Chorus. Now, we had a joke in our chat group about that because whoever picked the font for it is Chorus. I'm right in thinking
it is Chorus. Yeah,
it is
Chorus.
It is pronounced Chorus.
It looks like it's spelt Chorves on the title. The artwork and poster content for this game from Deep Silver. Why? That's a V, right? I'm not going crazy.
It's a play on Old English. That's why the letter W is called W, because traditionally with Old English we used to use the letter U used to be a V. Like that's literally how we used to write the letter U.
My German colleagues always moan about that.
Yeah, but just over time we've just adopted the U shape as opposed to a V. But I do agree. Like at first, look, you see it and you just go, Chorves?
Chorves?
Yeah,
But
It
yeah,
just
it's
needs
chorus.
that V to the base of that V just to be a bit wider, so it looks like a stylized U rather than just a straight
Yeah.
V.
Now, the worst part about that is if that's us who are clued in with the game industry a little bit more than your average Joe on the high street or your average Javo, whatever you want to call
Javo.
it. Javo. I'm just going to throw V's in everywhere now. If that's the case with us, obviously, then I don't know about you, Tom. I then looked at the YouTube title for the video, and it was spelt chorus in all capitals with a U correctly, and obviously I understood that. As far as marketing goes for this game, they're off on a bad foot already. Look at us. We're not talking about the game. We're talking about the title. That's not a good big foot to start off on. And I appreciate it's old English and yada yada yada. Does your 15-year-old son who's just picked up Stadia for the first time, who's looking at games to play, does that land with a TikTok, Snapchat generation?
I don't even think that it's Old English works for this game because it's more of a sci-fi game anyway. So it's not like a set piece historical drama or something. It's I just think it's bad.
I'm gonna sort of disagree a little bit, and only from the perspective that it's sort of it's almost symbolic of like time repeating itself and just how old things come back around again. I don't really think it links in any way whatsoever to the game. Like, I'm with you on that part of it, but in the grand scheme of things, I really don't think it matters, and I don't think it's something that we need to really discuss at length. For me, I saw it, and like looking more into the game, I love the idea of this game. Like, it is a space shooter, and that is again what I live for. That sort of like super futuristic sort of like the universe is haunted. It's very visceral. It's very destroyed. You know, there was a lot of almost like destroyed architecture in space. Like very. I don't even really know how to describe it. I miss the words for this, but
it's kind of dystopian in a way. But the game comes off as quite cerebral. You kind of like, what's going on here? Like, what is this universe that you're inhabiting? It is quite intriguing.
Yeah, the take I got away from it was that you've got kind of the Star Fox element for the fighter, so you got to zip around in your ship, do all the shooting and moving around, do a barrel roll. You've got that. It reminded me a lot of Control with the stylization. If anyone remembers the artwork for Control, it was a lot of the dark colours, but bright reds really shining through and showcasing that kind of that ray tracing future we're going towards. It looked really good. And then I also got a very Death Stranding vibe from it with like the whole eye makeup and the dark, the almost like detached creature, almost like Psycho Mantis. Actually, like I think there's a spot in the trailer where it talks over saying she took it from us, or we blame her, or something like that. So there's definitely going to be a narrative throughout it, but it does look very different from a lot of the other stuff that was showcased.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully if the name doesn't distract too much, it's one that we should be excited about coming to Stadia.
I'd say my take on it is that the two words I'd probably use for it is mysterious and haunting. Like, it just had that feeling to. But yeah, the theme of it is
dark. It's not a nice. This world doesn't seem like a nice place.
Top of my list from what I've seen today, though. So before we get into the rest, top of my list from what I saw.
Oh, okay. Now, before we delve into the rest of the games, one of the points I would like to address while we're breaking down the Xbox content is this smart delivery. Now, it's been flung about on other podcasts that I've listened to as well, and there seems to be a lot of confusion. Essentially, the way I've viewed it and taken it is that if you buy a game on any Xbox current platform, so Xbox One or Xbox One S and stuff, it will work on your Series X that you're going to purchase this holder. They are going to give you essentially the playable version on your new console. So you buy it once, you own it on whatever platform going forward you choose to play it on. Is that your take on it as well?
Yeah, exactly what I'd say. And I think the reason for it is because they want to try to make sure that they captivate people now. Because there's obviously this discussion around COVID that's essentially saying, oh, there's going to be delays, with the consoles coming out. Whereas Phil Spencer's come out and said, there won't be delays with the console coming out, but we can't say the same for the game. So I think it's sort of to alleviate that sort of pressure a little bit, take the pressure off.
I think it's part of Microsoft's rebranding with Xbox a bit, that they just go up. It's almost kind of gone, look, Xbox is now just an ecosystem that you're going to be in. It's like, yeah, we're going to bring out new models over time, but you're going to be able to buy a game and it will be optimized for whatever hardware you currently have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What it does lend itself quite fantastically, actually, is Stadia. Essentially, Stadia in a nutshell is smart delivery, right? You buy the game now, you buy Assassin's Creed Valhalla the day it's arrived, and then no matter how many consoles come out in the future, how many forwards compatibility you need, Stadia is always going to have the most up-to-date, highly pushed version out there. It in essence, is smart delivery.
I think the best way to think about it is if you go buy a PC game, quite often you'll go in the menus and there's been millions of different sliders to tweak and change settings based on your hardware.
Make your dick bigger.
We're not. Yeah, make your dick more or less pixelated.
To enhance your graphical experience.
Yeah, it's basically, my understand smart delivery is Microsoft are going to do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be minimums. There will be minimum specs, but the minimum specs is for going. You have to have this level of graphics card, etc., etc. It'll be like this is the lowest level of the Xbox Series consoles you can play this game on.
It brings me back to an older point that we discussed quite a long time ago, actually, about games coming out on Stadia that are not living up to the hype of what we've been promised in terms of 4K delivery and so on. Because what Xbox and what Microsoft are promising here is essentially saying that you buy the game now on the Xbox One, you're going to get it on the Series X, and it will allow you to have that like experience at the current visual fidelity, and then you'll get up to the 4K 60 frames per second, or 120 hertz, whatever it is. With from their end, they're basically saying you get both packaged in one. Now, what I am hoping again with Stadia, and I'm sure you guys would agree with it, is that we get that same sort of experience. Like if a game comes out, let's say right away, but they haven't gotten the graphical fidelity, or it needs to actually come at a later date with a patch, let's say, will we then be patched up to that version where it's by default set to that graphical setting? That's what I
mean. There's no way they can make us buy another edition. I know a big issue with this is the messaging hasn't been clear, and I think this is where a lot of their confusions came from in the marketing, that we've now got these third-party companies like EA and such coming out, and they're giving their own version of it. So I know CD Projekt Red have came out with Cyberpunk and said, no, if you buy it once, you will get the next version as well. EA specifically came out with what game was it? EA? It was Madden. It was at the Xbox thing. They came out with Madden and said, if you buy it once, it will work. A lot of the other people are being quite hush on saying that theirs is forwards compatible, because you've got to imagine that some of them, so Codemasters, for example, didn't clarify that. Are they now crunching numbers and going, oh, actually, you know what, we could get the sale on the current gen and get them to buy it again, potentially, knowing their forecasted numbers? It might work out more financially viable for them to sell two different editions. But again, Stadia alleviates that. If we buy dirt on Stadia when it comes out, we're going to get the version forward going anyway.
I'm guessing the way Microsoft have been talking about this is you don't really have a choice. If you want to publish your game on Xbox, you have to buy into this. That will probably be part of the contracts. So those that have been quiet, reading between the lines, maybe they're not fond of it, but they don't really have a choice in the matter. It's a very pro-consumer move anyway. It just, how many times have people bought these sort of games that kind of end of a generation, going across generations, like, do I buy on PlayStation 4, do I buy on PlayStation 5? It's basically just removing that question. Just buy the game, play the game, and if you buy a new console halfway through it, you get a better version instantly.
Yeah. Agreed. Now, before we dive into the rest of the games, there's no point in going through them one by one, because some of them they've already announced are going to be Xbox exclusive for about a year now. Some of them don't have an end date on an exclusivity. One of them I was quite impressed with was made just by one individual, they said. It has a terrible name, in my opinion, Bright Memory Infinite. Such a mixed match. But the gameplay itself, the fact that it was made by one guy, very, very impressive. Was there anything out of the rest of them that could potentially be coming to Stadia that have caught your two's attention and thought, I'd look forward to playing that on Stadia?
The whole show didn't really catch my attention much, to be perfectly honest. I just found the whole thing a bit bland, and was like, Chorus is by far the biggest standout for me.
Calls.
I'd like to see a title called Assassin's Creed Valhalla. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, there was some gameplay reveals.
There was, I think we can call it gameplay. I'd quite like to see. I thought the Medium looked quite interesting. That gave me some Control vibes as well. That sort of
Yeah, that dark,
Interest.
brooding,
Yeah. I also caught
horror-tinged world.
one that I did catch that I sort of looked at and I was like, whoa, what am I watching? Was a game called Scorn, which had a very sort of like, it was very like Geiger-esque. It was very alien in terms of like the feeling of it. And I watched it and I thought, what in the hell am I watching here? Like,
it's quite unsettling, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. It was. That
At one
made
point,
me
there was like a big alien, like the face hugger thing. It was just like, it was like dripping or being sick, and it had that weird, like, uncanny vibe it was giving off. In general, all the games I felt leaned very heavily into. It seems to be the popular genre at the moment. We know genres kind of come and go, westerns and such, and sci-fi and everything. You've got kind of two things. You've got your cyberpunk futuristic sci-fi one. I think the game The Ascent that dropped in there, literally, and the title says, is a cyberpunk solo RPG or co-op RPG. There's so many games that are just going to look very similar. Bright neon lights, very Blade Runner-esque visuals. And I think they're all starting to fold into one for me. And
I think a lot of it can be is like sometimes when you're probably doing market research to develop your game, you looked at where's this gap in the market. Okay, there's nothing cyberpunk's been out there, and people are starting to clamour for it. So a handful of different studios crack on with that, and it just means that you suddenly get a massive influx. Look at Get Packed. There's 3 games came out within a space of like very close to each other. All of the almost identical concepts.
That is very, very true. And then the other side of the kind of showcase was more like you said, Tom, with the medium, your kind of horror. I don't want to say steampunky vibe, but like very dark and broody. So you got the one that you were alluding to there, medium set in Krakow in the 1980s. It's got that dark, abandoned Blair Witch kind of vibe going on. Yeah. You had the Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines 2, which is a very weird, broken name again, in my opinion. Never played the first one, but again, it has that kind of dark undertone. There tends to be a flip between the two if you include Scorn and that.
Yep.
And then out of nowhere, we got Second Extinction, where you just kill dinosaurs with your buddies. A very, very Turok style game. That's the one.
It was going to be Turok, because that's it's Rare, isn't it? Is Turok owned by Rare nowadays? It used to be Acclaim, but they don't exist anymore.
Probably Microsoft now after they acquired Rare.
Yeah.
But in terms of the game itself, like it does look fun. I'll be honest, it looks like crazy shooter fun. Similar to we said, Zombie Army 4 was really good fun as well. Drop in there hordes of like very Starship Troopers-esque, just hordes and hordes of them trying to rip your throat out, and you have just a variety of shotguns and RPGs and machine guns. Just bring them down. It is from Avalanche Studios Group as well, so it's the people who made Mad Max. I think that's the Avalanche guys, right?
Yes,
Avalanche
that's
Studios.
Right,
yeah. So yeah, it just looks fun, exploding velociraptors and T-Rexes and stuff. The graphics look really good in it as well, actually. Really shows off the ray tracing on the terrain.
Credit given where it's due. That all of the games look good. Like, all of the games look really, really good. And so I'm super excited that they're all third party, because that means, it's very likely we could see them on a console.
Yeah, those deals just have to happen. Those conversations behind the scenes just have to basically start now. So yeah, that brings us to a wrap on the Xbox content. We've got a few other points that came out this week, which we will run you through very briefly. We finally got wireless support for our controllers on web.
Yes!
Yeah, fantastic. It just means now when we play our games on Chrome, we don't need to be bloody plugged in because the thing runs through wireless. So yeah, we're not going to knock our drink over or pull our keyboard, our tower out when we're playing these games now. It's been a long time coming, right, gentlemen?
Yeah, cut the cord. Cut the cord. It's beautiful.
It's very much just a user experience thing. It's just a little bit better, and you can still plug it in if you need to, if your battery's running low.
Exactly. Some games that came with DLC this week: Mortal Kombat 11, which is on Stadia. It's getting its Year 2 DLC on its anniversary with some Future Cop. Oh, if only Future Cop. RoboCop DLC, voiced by the original actor Peter Weller. Did you ever see RoboCop as a Mortal Kombat character?
No, but then again, I never saw the Terminator, so and
true.
also, very, very quick beef on this one. Spawn. How is Spawn still relevant?
I've never seen anything to do with Spawn other than movies and memes.
Yeah,
like not the movie itself, just like I know the movie exists. That's all I've seen. I haven't actually seen it.
Yeah.
It's so random. Like you said, Terminator as well, though. Hopefully, I'd love to see us have a RoboCop versus Terminator like we did back on the Sega Genesis.
Wow, that's a throwback, that is.
That is. Do I have it still somewhere? I'm sure I've got it somewhere. It's such a good game. It's such a random mixed match of IP. Alien versus Predator as well. Get those 80s IPs and just fling them in a pot and let them fight Battle Royale style.
Take two IPs, cram them together, and then just see what you can do.
More IPs. I want an IP Battle Royale.
Yeah. That would be amazing.
It would. We got a sneak peek at the Lord of the Rings Gollum. It's basically announced to come to everything bar Stadia. As a big Lord of the Rings fan, I'm worried about this one, guys.
Yeah, I'm like disappointed.
I love the Shadow of War game, Shadow of Mordor from Warner Brothers. When they lean on the books, it always has a weird. I know the book's the original material, but Peter Jackson did such a good job with the movies. Anything that doesn't mirror them, I have really bad feelings towards.
While we're on the Lord of the Rings, I just want to give a shout out to Andy Serkis of all people, because I spent a long time yesterday listening to him read The Hobbit for charity. That was awesome.
It was.
Yeah,
I tuned in and heard him do some voices, and I was like, "Oh shit, he's doing the voices as well. He's not just reading the book."
Yeah, it was amazing. I think
everyone was waiting for him to get to Gollum, right?
Oh god, yeah.
That was the piece. Right, but we'll bring that on a wrap to stories. Really big shout as well to our Patreon supporters this week on our Sounds of Stadia show. We did have Michael write in with one of his questions as well. Tom, I think you picked up the Patreon questions this week. Do you want to just run us through Michael's question and we'll address his desires?
So Michael's question was, in our predictions, we talked about possible Blizzard games. That was himself. I want to know, now that PUBG has come to Stadia, will there be any sort of agreement or deal that either Stadia will just keep to one Battle Royale, or so to stop other publishers actually having their Battle Royales on Stadia? Not sure if there's any politics involved in that behind the scenes. My thoughts on that is no. I think, like other platforms, I think you're going to see all of the developers, all of the publishers want to try to get their games on as many platforms as possible. There will be a deal in place that means that PUBG gets exclusivity in terms of like it being the only one on the platform currently, is what I think. But I do believe that over time we may start to see access.
With PUBG, you've got some Stadia-specific cosmetics in the game, like there's a Stadia frying pan, a Stadia parachute, it's like a Stadia jacket. So they've already got stuff there, but I really can't see it being like exclusive, because it's not that big enough of a game, unfortunately, anymore, that it could really warrant Google going, yeah, we're going to go all in with you.
Yeah, unfortunately, the conversation does lean towards more. Even if they went to Google and said, we'd love to have this exclusive deal, does it bode well for the future of Stadia? And I don't think both financially and from a marketing point of view, it does. So maybe for the short time, it gets to be number one, just like it was on Xbox and PC. Unfortunately, yeah, the cards are going to fall, and I do believe we'll probably potentially see Apex by the end of the year as well. So
yeah, potentially. I'm hoping, because it's one of the 5 from EA that we're expecting.
Yeah, amongst other things. But yes, thank you very much for your question, Michael. Remember, you can write into us as well at patreon.com/Sounds of Stadia and be part of our growing inside community from as little as 78 pence as well, or $1. Chuck us $1, as they say in America. If you can do. But that brings us to a wrap on episode 33 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. Remember, you can keep it locked to all of our social channels, twitter.com, YouTube to stay subscribed, and LinkedIn with all the communication and all the details that we brief out, such as the PUBG Content Creators Cup coming up in the future, Richie's Lost Words playthrough, any live streams that we're doing. And if we sound like we're talking really, really fast, it's because we're about to break and then go straight into our PUBG training grounds video, and poor Tom hasn't eaten yet. It's his birthday tomorrow. He's getting very, very hungry, and who doesn't?
He's wasting away.
Look at him.
Probably could do with that, Richie.
So thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. My name's been Chris.
I've been Tom.
I've been Richie.
We've been Sounds of Stadia. Thank you very much. See you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.